Y'all know what time it is.
Surf Shorts!
All right, everybody. Welcome back to Surf Shorts. Today I got with me Josh. What's up, dude?
What's up, man? Hey, the listener probably just heard that great intro. I love it with the kids.
Oh, yeah. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Well, when you have that many kids at your disposal,
Yeah.
inside of your home, when your home's basically a teen daycare, like you try to...
So that's like child labor, I guess.
It is, yeah. I'm going to write them off on my taxes. Yeah. That is exactly right. How many kids do you have total?
I have two boys.
Yeah. I didn't know if there was a mystery other kid.
Kind of. Yeah, he joined the military. So, yeah, he disappeared for about 4 years.
That's right. Yeah, that's awesome. So you post and he's back out?
Yeah. Well, he just got out of the Navy
Yeah.
and is now living in Charleston.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
And Charleston is basically Wilmington, South Carolina.
that's correct.
Yeah. And you're a military guy yourself.
Yeah.
What branch?
I was Navy, my son's Navy, my dad was Navy, and then my grandfather was a Marine, so he was the man of the bunch.
Yeah. No, that's funny. Yeah. That's awesome. But Navy makes sense with surfing.
Well, that's how I got in, so I wanted to be a diver, right?
Yeah.
And we were having earthquakes in California. I grew up in Los Angeles, so earthquakes was a thing. And so I wanted to basically do underwater welding for the oil rigs that are off the coast of California.
Yeah.
And of course, you go to the Navy recruiter for that. And somehow they talked me into joining a submarine force. And the only reason I did that was because they told me I didn't have to live on a ship, that they would put me up in an apartment, which is really barracks.
Yeah.
But I knew that I could keep my surfboard and I'd always be by the coast.
Yeah.
It guaranteed me a job where I can surf.
It would be hard to be a submariner in Kansas.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, those guys don't do well.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah, they're not as busy as you might imagine. And definitely if you're a Marine, you can end up anywhere.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I had Clint on the show from Runyon Surfboards. I know that you know him. Great guy.
Yes.
Yeah, and he was telling me, I don't know if it was on the air, but some of the places he's been. And he's surfing Southern California and like really getting into it and getting stoked on it. And then they ship him to South Carolina.
Yes, right. Well, that was the reason I didn't join the Coast Guard, because you would think Coast Guard, the coast,
Yeah.
and then you go to Lake Michigan.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I had a friend in Alaska.
Right.
And he was the story was he was telling me like they're in a storm off Alaska, and then like the footprints on their cutter, the footprints are on the walls. It was yawing so much in the storm.
Oh yeah.
That they were literally like afterwards they're cleaning up the boat or whatever. Like you have to keep a tidy ship,
Of course.
and they're mopping.
The puke?
Puke, yeah, probably like puke encrusted footprints off of the walls.
Yeah.
But they were so high up the walls because the ship had been, leaning to either side so much.
No way.
Yeah, it is crazy.
That's like an amusement ride that won't stop.
Yeah, for sure. So now you were in Hawaii, stationed in Hawaii? at
Yeah.
some point?
So, I did really well in submarine school. They allowed me to pick my home base.
Dang, you did do well.
Yes. And so, first I went to San Diego for 2 years at Point Loma.
Yeah.
I mean, Sunset Cliffs, you
Sure.
can't beat it. And then we transferred to Hawaii. So I was stationed at Pearl Harbor for 2 years. So I had 2 winters North Shore, totally kooking it and getting destroyed.
Yeah.
And
I would be getting destroyed on the North Shore right now with 30 years of surfing experience.
yeah, it's a very humbling place. I listened to Jacob's Vendetti's podcast where he was on the North Shore, and yeah, it's all true.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. And that he rips. Like
Yeah.
he
Dude,
can
that
surf.
guy's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, when it was big winter swell on the North Shore, I would stay away from that beach break.
Sure.
I would never surf pipe, never had the skills or the confidence.
Yeah. I would never surf pipe.
And so I would do log cabins. And then if it got too big, I would go to Makaha because it would have that wrap around.
Yeah.
And it was a big wave, tons of energy. I mean, I felt a lot of energy on the North Shore, but Makaha's a special wave. It just is like a nice, deep. It's just a massive amount of energy. That's the only way I can explain it. And it can get big, like double overhead, but not throwing a lip.
Yeah, it can hold it. Yeah, I surfed a trace like that one time, and it was, definitely the biggest wave I've ever surfed, but it still wasn't, throwing out an insane barrel.
Yeah.
So you could kind of manage it. It was humbling, and there's all this energy and water and this mountain moving at you, but it's also almost like it's not trying to kill you at the same time.
Right. Yeah.
It's giving you a fair shot.
Except the locals don't give you a fair shot. That's kind of the story I wanted to bring to you today is what I'm calling the naked kahuna.
All right.
So I would travel to Makaha, as I said, when it was huge on the North Shore, just so I can surf and actually have some size to it. But man, I'm just a white boy. And, over there on that side of the island, it can get kind of rough.
Yeah.
Most parts of Hawaii can get pretty rough, especially for a white haole guy.
Yeah.
And, of course, I was in the military, so I had that hairdo. So I was just the quintessential, guy, get off my break.
Bro, they are spotting you from a mile away.
Yeah, so there's a guy named Kalani Rob.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
I've surfed with him, met him. He was very nice to me. He picked on me a little bit, but I think it was in jest.
He did me too. Yeah. So there was a time in his career where he had a brace. He had to surf with a brace on. And I remember specifically that's when he was out there in the water with me, and he basically peeled my eyelids back with the spray. I mean, he was probably, I don't know, 20 yards away and right in the pocket. But then he saw me and just went high-lined towards me, got a bunch of speed, and just buried the rail, and my eyelids literally got peeled over my forehead.
How old is he? I'm trying to remember how old he was when he had that brace. Because is this before his big CT run or after when he was kind of fizzling?
Dude, I don't follow the pros.
Yeah. I don't. I'll be honest with you. I think most people listen to the show. I don't know all of the pro surfers. Back in the 90s, I did, but now I don't follow. I follow Supercross and motocross. I can tell you about every person there, but surfing, I don't. I'm stoked on it. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, I envy them. To be able to travel and surf and all that. But I don't know. I just never really got into it. So I couldn't tell you if it I couldn't even tell you the circuits he was on.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. Well, Kalani Rob is like this phenom, right? And when he was really young, and everybody's thinking this kid's a world title contender, and it certainly seemed that way.
Yeah.
And then I don't exactly remember how it shook down, but he was on the top level of the tour at the time, whatever it was called. The names have changed, and then it just didn't work out. And I don't know why. I don't know if it was the injury or other things. I honestly don't, but I do remember wearing the brace, and when I surfed with him was in probably 97, 98.
Dude, that's the same time.
Yeah, they were out here on the East Coast, and he was destroying it. I mean, he was super, just amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Now he seems like the coolest guy ever.
Yeah, I'm sure. I think you have to be a certain mindset when you're at that level. I mean, first of all, you're basically a freak of nature.
Absolutely.
You talk about William McPhee, right? And just the ability to go so fast and have your brain process that fast, to me, freaks, in a good sense.
Oh, yeah.
And so I think when you're at that level, you kind of I wouldn't say you have to have a chip on your shoulder, but you just have to go in a different place in your head. And I think the exception might be the guys like Kelly.
Yeah.
Where they're so freaky, they don't have to be in that mindset.
Yeah. Maybe that's true. Maybe that is true. So he ripped. He was good, but I can totally see him doing that to you.
Yeah. So back to the naked kahuna. So that particular day, I mean, it was like pick on Josh day in the water, and so this guy was he's probably in his 50s, and he had a big old longboard and big old beer belly, and probably eating too much poi. And He was just the enforcer. You could just tell, like, he had mad respect from all the locals. He was the guy. He was like the quintessential Kahuna that, you know, one would envision in a Hawaii point break. And so we just kind of stood away from him. Like, you know, you knew not to mess with him. And he was kind of like just giving us the stink eye. Like, you don't belong here.
You can feel it, especially in Hawaii.
Right. And so, like, on a point break like that, you just kind of have to, like, take the leftovers.
Yeah.
And so you definitely don't get near the peak. And that's where this guy was just hanging out. Like, he'd catch one and then go back to the peak. It wasn't like, you know, he would take the shoulder and wait and give us turns. Like, that's not happening.
There's no rotation happening, kids.
No.
I'm going to paddle right past you and look at you. So I got the last wave and I'm going to get the next wave.
Yeah.
also.
And look at you like he wants to rip your head off.
Yeah.
So anyway, this huge set just wraps around the island. It's massive. It's the biggest, you know, wave of the day. It's the set. And of course, the Kahuna is in position, right? And what do you do sitting on the shoulder? You just watch.
Yeah. And you would hoot if he was cool.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, if you weren't busy wiping your eyes from Kalani. But
right.
So anyway, he paddles. It's one of those like 1-2 paddles with 2 arms, and then like you're just sliding down the face, and that's that kind of wave. But this wave was so big, and he was just ripping down the face, like sliding so fast. But when he stood up, his shorts fell right to his ankles. And he wasn't wearing underwear.
like we all don't, right?
And he couldn't use the excuse that the water was cold because it was Hawaii. And nevertheless, he's shooting down this face. It's got, you know, I say it's double overhead. Easy. And that's like, you know, not the Hawaiian versus East Coast size. It was huge. And he was going so fast. He was like trying to reach down to his shorts, but he knew if he like did that beer belly would just throw his center of gravity off and he would eat it in front of us all. So like you can see the dilemma playing out in this guy's mind as he's screaming down the face of this thing. Best solution he could do is just stand up and take it like a man. And he rode that thing all the way in, butt naked. And the cool thing is he had to paddle back out, right? And pass us. And so instead of the stink eye, it was nothing. He just kept his head buried and paddled right back to the point.
Yeah, I know you're just dying for him to look at you when he came back past you, you know, just giving him a wink or maybe the finger gun. You know, what's funny is like I've been just surfing like chest high waves and like got my leash under my foot. And, you know,
right.
Sometimes you can't do anything about it. You're like, oh, I'm kind of stuck. Or you wiggle your foot a couple times and it still doesn't move. You're like, screw it. This guy's going 100 miles an hour.
Yes.
And the other thing is, you know, like his feet, you can't move your feet. He's riding a longboard. You can only get your feet maybe shoulder width apart, right?
Yeah. It was either he's going to eat it. And I would say if he did eat it, he was going to lose his trunks. There's so much energy in that wave.
Oh, yeah.
They would have been gone.
Oh, yeah.
And he would have had to walk of shame all the way to because, you know, depending on where he parked, it could have been a long walk.
Yeah. A long and interesting, memorable walk, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
See, that, you know, I've been pantsed.
Yes.
In Hatteras, I've been pantsed like Hurricane Chantal or something. Went over the falls, pantsed myself at 100 miles an hour, you know, but thank God I have my leash on. So your board shorts just stay on your leash, right? This guy, you know, you can break your leash at Makaha, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure he was wearing a leash out there.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I mean, how long would that swim be back to the beach in massive surf?
Oh, yeah. It's, you know, it can be dangerous too because the reef is right there. And so, yeah, it's a good fun wave. I recommend going there.
Yeah. I've never been there, but I recommend surfing it wearing your board shorts.
Yeah. And bring your friends. and maybe have somebody watch the car.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, really?
Yeah.
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 Well, hey, man, thanks. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
All right. Y'all know what time it is.